Live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you're making it a good one. We know that we are as well. We were supposed to have some live LSU baseball reaction, but because the good Lord made rain, we do not have the baseball game today, so we won't be doing the live baseball interaction. Regardless, we do have a big show in store for you tonight. As Ed Orgeron talks, he tells you to gear up for a big-time season, gear up for a big-time spring. We will break down some of the things and 3 things that we should expect going into this Saturday. Some things, there will be some injuries and some guys that will sit out. So we will update you as the show goes on. As we've told you, we will be going around the SEC, and nobody is better at this, at being inside the program and knowledgeable than our good friend, Mr. Kevin Hagan, as we will go in and talk some things about Alabama as the season goes on and as the spring goes on, as Benjamin opens the door wide open. Usually he doesn't interact during the weekday shows. That's right. But we will talk about Alabama football. What are some things to expect? What are some things to expect? Some strengths and some weaknesses on that Alabama's team this year. Bye, buddy. Bye. Handful, man. I tell you every single time, lock the door, and I never do it. I never do it. All right, let's get to a couple comments before we pay some bills around this thing. Craig Schilling says, and we are live, which is our slogan. We will be getting that T-shirt made. Ryan Amanda Guidry says, what's up, Blake? Let's go. We are live. Yes, all of you that are watching us, do us a favor to the 57, now 74. Usually, you know how you coon asses do. You trickle in late. Do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Ryan, what's going on? Danny Krantz, big-time Bill King listener, says, and we are live. Let's go, Blake. Kenny says, nothing like AYS after a long day of work. Kenny, you've been saying that a lot lately. You've been saying that a lot. They working your ass off, I can see. Justin says, let's go Tigers. And Dylan Landry says, let's go. All right, so guys, as always, as we do on Tuesdays, you can put in the hashtag Ask Blake, and we will get to any questions that you have, and then we'll be doing the Ask Kevin later on the show when we have him on. But before we get started, guys, you know what time it is. We got to pay some bills around this thing, and none better to start off with our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. GM Varno & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, truck repair, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And our good friends over at Monster Bass. Guys, it is fishing season. Yes, you're not going to fish during the rain, but you have to go over to Monster Bass and get your premium subscription for any and all fishing and tackle. Guys, basically all you have to do is go over to their website at monsterbass.com, and they will customize every bait that you get. If you want to act like you're a professional fishing, they sure as hell are going to give you one. Go to their website, subscribe, put in the promo code AYS10 and get $10 off your first box. Guys, it's $10 off on that subscription box. Go over there and put in that AYS10, and they will know that your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino at AYS, sent you on by. Our financial advisor's in here, Michael Bazile, making his money. I got to tell you guys something. I probably shouldn't say this. But Michael Bazile, let's just say AYS money doubled last month. That's all I'm going to say. This is AYS's America, and Michael Bazile's making it that. You better go see him. You better call him. You better click over. You better go. You better make that money. Blaine Smith says, any special teams news, kicking and kickoff and punt returner? How is the not 40-year-old punter doing? Special teamers and people too. You know, Blaine, that's an interesting question that we don't ask a lot during the spring. I would expect Trey Palmer is going to be a guy that we saw and that we see is going to possibly get a lot of kick returns and possibly some punt returns. I don't know if they're going to be putting Derek Stingley back there. We keep talking about that. And Ed has kind of alluded to that, but they're so far off on that and something that they have not implemented. We'll see. But I think that we could expect Trey Palmer out of Kentwood. The Kangaroos, baby. We'll see him out there. Holland says, hashtag Ask Blake. I'm hearing great things about Garrett Nussmeier. I believe the top two are Max and him. What are your input of the competition? I don't think that Ed's going to allow right now for us to know much. I think Saturday we'll see, and that's one of the takeaways. So we'll talk about one of the takeaways that we need to look at this Saturday is a quarterback competition. I still think it's Max's position to lose. You went to Florida on the road, the SEC East champs, and you beat them. I don't care that Marco Wilson threw a shoe 45 yards. I really don't care. Thank you, Marco Wilson, for throwing a shoe 45 yards. We really appreciate that. But I think it's Max's job to lose, especially Jake Peets. And really the first question I'm going to ask Kevin is because Jake Peets was on that Bama staff 2 times, what he might remember about Jake Peets, because he's a really big-time RPO guy, and when he remembers about him. But I really think, yes, Garrett is making a lot of strides, making a lot of waves inside that program. But I think it's going to be, at the end of the day, come down to Miles Brennan. And you guys know how I feel about Miles Brennan. I got to see it to believe it. He might Joe Burrow this thing, or he might get injured again. I don't know that. But what I do know is that he is not going to season injured or not being injured. So we'll wait to see about with that. But I think Garrett Nussmeier is a kid that, look, he's going to be in there, especially if he balls out Saturday. Absolutely, he's going to ball out. Blake Schilling says, hashtag Ask Blake. I had the GM Varno and Sons advertisement memorized. If you ever need a guest speaker to read that one, you're my guy there, huh, Blake? You know, I'm going to have to. What time is this? I'm going to send this over to our good friends over at GM and let them know about this as I write on my Mike Bazile Financial Advisor notebook in reference to GM Varno and Sons. Darren says, in honor of the AYS guest tonight, Bama, Obama, you won't you bite my, you know what? Okay. We're going around the SEC and there's nobody better than Kevin. It's not like, I know you guys were really up in arms about Drew DeArmond. He ruffled y'all's feathers a little bit. Don't get on my ass for Drew calling y'all out. Don't do that now. I told you. Kevin ain't going to do that. He's great to talk to. Badito says, hashtag Ask Blake, Jake Paul or Ben Askren. Give me Ben Askren. The guy's fought in the MMA. I mean, fought in the UFC. He's fought in Bellator. Give me Ben Askren. Danny Krantz says, hashtag Ask Blake. Blake, what are you expecting most from the spring game? All right, there we go. So let's start here. My 3 tiers that I want to see yesterday. I don't think that, there's some people that need to have good Saturdays from a fan's perspective. I don't know if there's a bigger guy in the country that has to have a bigger Saturday than Miles Brennan. Literally nobody. And the reason I say that is because Miles Brennan has a lot of talent. He's got a great arm. He can throw with a lot of accuracy. But again, he's always hurt. So my number 1 tier, who's going to separate themselves? Look, I literally came on this show yesterday before Ed Orgeron said anything to anybody, before he addressed the media, before he addressed the fans. I told you yesterday that I was told that the defense for LSU absolutely balled out of control. Jay Ward is a guy that's moved over to safety, another interception. Ed Orgeron confirmed it. So, yes, did the offense start getting going in the later part of that scrimmage? Yes, they did. Ed Orgeron confirmed that, what we said yesterday too. But I do think that this defense is on another level right now that we have not seen. Look, even better than 2019. Ole Miss just scored another touchdown in that 2019 defense. I mean, you went to Alabama, then you went to Ole Miss, and then they just scored a whole bunch of shit up on you. It's just the truth. So I think that they're really multiple, and nobody in the country really knows what Deronte Jones wants to do. So that's my number 1. Number 2, I want to see what both lines of scrimmage do. What can LSU do on the offensive line? Can they give a push? We know how deep that D-line is for LSU. You have guys like Mason Smith who have come in, who's been a really good interior pass rusher. Can they hold up? Can they not? Should we be worried? Should we not? I really want to see, especially – and look, guys, I told you how I feel about spring games. The vanilla that LSU is going to be, can they just punch somebody in the mouth up front? Either both sides. I want to see them going back and forth. Number 3, I want to see who is there that guy defensively? that we just sit back. You guys remember when Tyrann Mathieu, going into the 2011 season, we watched that spring game, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I knew this kid was good. But who is this kid? Like, I know he's from Nolans, but who is this kid? I want to see if someone on the defense will finally step up, and I hate to say it like this, but nut up and let's go. Who's going to be that leader? Because even in 19 and even in 20, obviously in 2020 with the 100th ranked defense, nobody has really been that guy that's really stepped up. Can Derek Stingley be that guy? Those are my three things that I want to see. Jordan Wilkinson, what's up, Jordan? He says, hashtag Ask Blake, with all the Devontae Lee praise lately, do you think that this is the year he can push through and get some legit playing time? I feel like every spring we hear about him. Look, again, there's a reason. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but there's a reason why DJ Mangus, when he came back as a passing game coordinator, that he moved Devontae Lee from linebacker, back over to receiver. He wants him. He looks leaner. We do hear about him. He's a big physical kid. I think that he'll get some playing time. He's got a lot of guys ahead of him, though. A lot of guys ahead of him. I think he'll see playing time. No question. There's no questions about that at this point. He's going to see playing time. And he's a 3-year freshman. He redshirted. Last year didn't count. And there goes my camera. Of course, there goes my camera. Hold on, guys. We're going to try to fix this camera in just a second. Hold on. Let's see. Come on, camera. Anyway, let's get to a couple comments as we fix this thing. Of course it goes out. But of course it does. Let's see. Juice Washington says, hashtag Ask Blake, is it bad? I'm more excited about the 2 freshman running backs over Price and Emory. No, not really. No, not really. Because at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves the question, these running backs have to find a way to get on the field and do good things. If they can't do that, then these 2 freshman wide receiver or running backs are going to do it. And look, you went and got a kid that was committed to Alabama, and Amari Goodwin, literally the fastest guy in high school in the state of Alabama, at least for track, at least. Can he make some playing time? We'll see. But no, I really – and Corey Connor there too, the Mr. Ohio. The last time a guy that was named Mr. Ohio came down to the Bayou, well, that's a lot to put on Corey Connor. I need to stop with that. Joe Burrows don't grow on trees, y'all. Joe Burrows don't grow on trees. Let's see. MJ says, hashtag Ask Blake, any news on Eric Gilbert? All right. I know that we hinted this. What was it, Saturday or Friday, whenever it was? He's on campus. He's in Baton Rouge. His teammates have welcomed him back. And now it's a compliance thing. I don't know if he's going to play in 2021, but they're working on it. If I had to assume, we all know how this works. If they want it bad enough, there could be a chance. But let me just say this. He's in Baton Rouge. At least 2 days ago, the kid was in Baton Rouge. Bandito says Nussmeier is Baker Mayfield 2.0. The kid has swag that can't be taught. I can see that. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Baker, though. He's athletic, but Garrett's really athletic. Ryan Thibodeau says, when the lights come on, who will shine? When the lights come on Saturday, I think it'll be – look, what you don't want Saturday is for guys to get injured. Let Derek Stingley play a couple of series, get him out of there. This isn't – as much as we want to see him, as much as all you guys who have been putting in the comments, hey, I'm going to the spring game and all this kind of stuff because you weren't able to go last year because of COVID. I get all of that. Get your starters in and out of there. Get them probably 20, 25, 30 reps. Get them out of there. What you don't want, especially, look, and we'll talk to Kevin Hagan in 3 minutes. When you go when you go to Tuscaloosa, you don't want to have a guy injured because he went full out in a spring game. Ed Orgeron ain't going to do that. Let me tell you something. If it sprinkles, Ed Orgeron in the past has shown that he will bring that thing inside and he'll call it a day. You remember 19? Oh, you saw 2 of our RPO plays that we ran in the red zone because Joe Brady was pissed off that he hadn't scored a touchdown? You remember that? It drizzled, and they called the game. He don't want nobody knowing what they doing. Ryan Gidger says, boy, I wish I can make the spring game. We'll be offshore working. Well, be safe, my man, and make that money, cuz. Make that money. Jeremiah Phillips says, I wonder if Boutique caught that pass on Stingley. I'll ask around. All I know is like we talked about yesterday, all I know is you better put some respect on Jay Ward's name. All I'm going to say. A pick and then a pick six. The kid is going to ball at safety, man. At least he's having one hell of a spring. He's playing with like his hair's on fire. All right, a couple more, then we'll get over to our good friend, Mr. Kevin Hagan. I saw one and I missed it. Jeff, too. What's up, Jeff? He says, you talking with Kevin Hagan is going to be awesome. I can't wait. Well, we'll be bringing him on in just a second. Let's see. Brandon Reese, which player are you looking forward to watching in this LSU spring game? I want to see Mason Smith. I want to see the trenches. I think Cedric said this up here too. The game is won in the trenches. I want to see the big hog mollies going one-on-one. You know, as a former center and a former collegiate guy, I'm going to watch what happens up front. If you're going to be vanilla, that's fine. But I absolutely want to see who punches who in the mouth. Anthony Bradford, the kid from Michigan, is going to be getting a lot of praise. He'll be going up against Mason Smith. He'll be going up against Jaquelin Roy. As we remember, had the 2 sacks against Florida. Who punches who in the mouth? You can't teach nastiness neither. You can't teach that want to. I'll be honest. There are times that I didn't have it. Now, I come over here and do the Rufino's rants and shit like that, but some of them dudes is nasty. What does Dare Rosenthal look like? Ali Gay seems to be a little nicked up. I don't think he's going to go. But what do those guys look like? Danny says, hashtag ask Blake. Blake, how you feeling about Arch? Do y'all have a chance? I don't think that. I know I go on Bill King show and joke around and say, Arch Manning was wearing an LSU t-shirt. Na boo boo. Man, that kid ain't going to LSU now. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I would assume he likes Steve Sarkisian, Ole Miss, Dabo, Clemson. I don't know if Alabama has a shot. We'll ask Kevin maybe when he gets on here. We'll see. All right, last one, and then we'll get to Kevin. Stephen Miller says, yo, better late than never. What's good? Nothing, my man. Absolutely. As The Rock would say, absolutely nothing. We're just about to get ready for a good guest. All right, let's do this. Let's get over to our sponsor, and then we'll get over to Mr. Kevin Hagan. But before, guys, you got to go see my good friend, Mr. John Patton, over at Area Home Lending. Guys, are you thinking about buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash-out refi? The timing has never been better. Get in touch with John Patton from Area Home Lending today, and if you mention this show, he will send his team out for a free appraisal. No one in our area is saving you more money than John Patton. Again, that's 225-663-2500. And tell him Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And if you're looking for that new home, go to team.kw.com. That's team.kw.com. If you want the dream home that you've always been looking for, you got to go see the number one real estate team in the North Shore. Again, that's team.kw.com. And tell him your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. All right, our good friend, Mr. Kevin Hagan, is joining us. Kevin, what's happening, my man?
Hey, Blake, how are you doing? It's an honor to join you and the LSU fans on the best LSU show, AYS Sports, buddy. Let's talk some college football.
Well, I really appreciate that, man. And look, there's nobody more in tune with Alabama and what's going on around the program. Kevin, in 2019, LSU lost a lot of kids to the draft in the NFL, COVID. Now, Alabama loses a lot of kids to the draft. Is there a lot of concern for you going into this season with a lot of guys going into the draft like LSU lost in 2019?
Well, yes and no. And first, let me say, LSU got caught in the perfect storm, and I think COVID had a lot to do with what happened with LSU season in the spring and everything. And I don't see any way in the world that we see a repeat from LSU in the type of season they had in 2019. There is some concern in Tuscaloosa. We lost a lot of players. They're going to have a lot of young players playing. 5 new coaches, well, 6 if you add the fact that we had to replace a coach a couple of weeks ago. Technically 6 new coaches. since last season, which is a big deal and certainly affects recruiting or whatever. First and foremost for Alabama, and I'm a defensive guy, okay? I'm all about defense, but I got to start off talking offense here. The key for Alabama in 2021 is Bryce Young has to stay upright and healthy if Alabama intends to accomplish the things they want to accomplish. Nothing against Jalen Milroe, our true freshman quarterback out of the Houston, Texas area. He's extremely talented, and I'm excited about his future. But I think if he was thrown into the fray as the starting quarterback at Alabama early in this season, I don't think there's any way that Alabama could reach the goals they wanted to keep. So number one is keeping Bryce Young healthy. Did the weather get you, my friend?
All right, guys. Sorry about that. We lost power. Kevin, are you still with us?
I am with you.
All right. I'm sorry about that, my friend. We lost power. So continue. What were you saying? I'm sorry about that.
I don't know where you lost me at. I was just saying that first and foremost, the priority for Alabama this year is Bryce Young absolutely has to stay healthy if Alabama wants to accomplish what they want to accomplish. Nothing against Jalen Milroe, true freshman quarterback out of the Houston, Texas area. I'm very high on him. But if Alabama wants to accomplish what they want to do this year, Bryce Young has to stay healthy and be the starting quarterback throughout the season.
Now, Kevin, the question that we have or I have mainly is the simple fact is what is it going to look like for Alabama with the defense? I mean, they are replacing a lot there as well. What do you think defensively that they're going to look like and that they can do on that front?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm really excited about this Alabama defense. In fact, I think this is going to be Alabama's best defense since the 2016 season. And let's be honest, there has not been, under the Nick Saban era, a more maligned assistant coach than poor Pete Golding. When he was hired, we were all excited because we were told he had the best interview Saban ever had and got up on the whiteboard and drew things. And people in the program were telling me that this was a great hire. And then I was one of the people that blamed everything on Pete Golding. And unrightfully, because quite honestly, we through some injuries, we had some linebackers a couple years out there playing on the field that had absolutely no business playing in Alabama, much less starting. And Pete Golding, he took the blame for everything. I mean, and that happened on the program. That changed last year. From the second half of the Georgia game on, Alabama's defense got better. Granted, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact we were playing teams that were garbage. But Alabama fans began to realize that Pete Golding wasn't the bad guy. And I will say this. Pete Golding tried to make some changes that he thought the defense needed to make, and Nick Saban would not allow him to do it until the season progressed. And finally, Pete Golding pressed the issue, and Pete Golding was able to make some changes. So this is going to be our best defense 16. But, I talk about this on Bill King all the time. The rules in college football have changed so much, and it favors the offense so much. The days of, I used to judge Alabama games by did the defense not allow more than 100 yards rushing and all these crazy numbers that we'll never see. What's going to help Pete Golding in the defense this year is we're going to have quality depth, and particularly on the defensive line. If you're buying Alabama stock, buy Tim Smith stock really early, the sophomore nose guard. I think he's going to have a monster year. The household names you're going to hear, Will Anderson, Chris Allen, a young man from there in Baton Rouge. We're expecting them to have huge, huge seasons on the outside. Drew Sanders, a sophomore, you're going to hear a lot about him. But for Alabama, our linebacker play has been really, really sketchy. And I know Dylan Moses is a Louisiana kid. He had trouble staying healthy. He missed the 2019 season. Then he came back and played injured last year. We're going to finally, I think, Jalen Moody, I think, is going to step in and be the Mike linebacker along with Christian Harris, another Louisiana kid. So I think we're going to have our best linebacker combo that we've had in a while at Alabama. But this is where it's going to really get interesting, Blake, on the defensive side of the ball. And that's in the secondary. We got a lot of talent in the secondary. But I think as the season progresses, we're going to see some of the veterans have a hard time defending their positions against some of the incoming guys. Josh Jobe has one cornerback position lockdown. Okay. The big question is who's going to be the cornerback on the opposite side? Well, it looks like Jalen Armour Davis, who's been in the program for several years but has never been healthy. It looks like he's going to win that other position. DeMarco Helms and Jordan Battle, it looks like, are going to go in as our safeties. But JaQuincy McKinstry, a true freshman in the spring, has really flashed. Christian Story, a redshirt freshman, has really flashed at the cornerback position. We have a JUCO player named Kyrie Jackson coming in, and I think it's going to be very, very hard to keep him off the field. But the name that I'm really excited about, and I think he's going to be the next superstar in the Alabama secondary, is Terrion Arnold out of Tallahassee, Florida. I would have given anything if Terrion could have been a part of spring practice, but he wanted to play basketball. He's the name to watch. And I'll tell you, Blake, I don't think there's any way in the world that they're able to keep Terrion Arnold off the field. Alabama says they're going to give him a chance to play cornerback first. A lot of people have him penciling in at safety, but he's a young man that I just think is the next great superstar. So it's going to be interesting to see. And of course, you have Malachi Moore and Brian Branch as our nickel and dime players. So that secondary is going to be deep and talented. I'm really excited about this Alabama defense, which is great because we might have to lean on them a little bit early, with our offense to begin the season.
So basically, he's moving to safety because Nick Saban, we all know, runs the DB room. So let's just call it what it is, Kevin. Look, you talked about the linebacker play defensively, and look, you had two Louisiana guys, and yeah, it was a little suspect. I'll give an example for Louisiana people here, LSU fans. When John Emery broke that long run, sometimes these linebackers were out of place. Kevin, you talked about the secondary, you talked about the guys up front, but if you don't have guys at the linebacker position that can run, you can be in a lot of trouble. Is that the biggest worry that you have for this team defensively?
Communication is going to be a big part of it, and staying healthy. Demoy Kennedy, I'd say another name to watch. True freshman Deontay Lawson has really flashed this spring. I think in the blowout games, the games against Mercer and the other directional schools, I look for Alabama to get him on the field as quickly and as much as they can to try to build some more quality depth there. Pete Golding, like I said, in the linebacker room, it's been thin at Alabama, and you were very kind saying sometimes there was a lot of times we've been out of position, and we've had players. 2 years ago, we had people playing linebacker that Benjamin, your son Benjamin, understood the Alabama playbook better than they did. I'm just being honest, and I'm not calling out Dylan Moses, but I understand when you come back from a knee injury, you play a little bit hesitant or whatever, and we have not seen the great elite linebacker play out of both positions. Love Christian Harris. Christian Harris is going to finally have some help this year. And hey, listen, I know there's a lot of people out there that ask me about Henry To'o, the player at Tennessee. Yes, if they change the transfer rules, word is that he will show up in Tuscaloosa, but he's been told to have a backup plan, which is Ohio State. But I'm going to be real honest with you, Blake. I think if Henry was to show up with a suitcase in Tuscaloosa tomorrow, I think he's going to have a hard time beating out Jalen Moody. I'm just being honest with you.
Look, I think Henry To'o, or however you say his last name, I think he is the best player in the portal. I mean, without a doubt, because of what he did at Tennessee. But we'll have to see. And look, they have some guys there that can they expand on that. Kevin, there's a lot of questions that I have. Look, and I've been on the record. I thought that Alabama, and I said this to LSU fans because being realistic is realistic. I thought that Alabama's offensive line last year was probably one of the best that we've ever seen. Now you have to replace a lot of those guys. On the offensive side, that's got to be the biggest worry. Outside of quarterback, outside of receiver, outside of running back, you win the game in the trenches. Are you really worried offensively about what you can – and look, as much as I didn't really like the swagness sometimes from Logan Dickerson, I understood it. You're replacing a big-time center. Is that your biggest up front that you have to replace is those guys in those trenches?
Yeah, and absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Logan Dickerson's one of those players. When he's on your team, you absolutely love him. When he plays for anybody else, you want somebody to sweep his knee, break his leg. I'll be real honest with you. I mean, if he had played for you guys or anybody else and pulled that crap on us, I'd be like, somebody jack that guy up, please. But when he's on your team, you love him. Yeah, there's a question marks around there. Of course, Alabama's new offensive line coach is Doug Marrone. One of the complications with this is the fact that we have a couple of key players in the the offensive line that are not participating this spring, like guard Emil Ecular. So, and as you know, you're a former offensive lineman. The offensive line is not a microwave position. You know, you don't throw somebody in there for 30 seconds and you got to, it's come over, as Bill King would say, it's a rep tech position. You kind of got to put it on the cooker for 14, 16 hours. So I think we're going to see the evolution of the Alabama offensive line. I'll be, no offense to Florida fans, but, and oh, by the way, it was great when you all kicked their butt in Gainesville last year. We don't really have to have our offensive line clicking, in my opinion, until we go to a college station. And I think it will by that point. Evan Neal's is elite. He's moving from right tackle to left tackle. Chris Owens is going to be the center. Emil Ecular is going to be one of the guards. The other positions are a little bit up in the air. It could be Tommy Brown. And then two true freshmen to keep an eye on are J.C. Latham, who I think is going to be the next superstar Alabama offensive lineman, but he's only 17 years old. And then Tommy Brockermeyer, the five-star out of Texas. So I think we're going to see a lot of tinkering with Alabama in the first 4 to 5 games. And we, like I said, I think we don't really have to have it right until we go to A&M. I think that's going to be a position, Blake, that we're going to see continued improvement. And I think by the time we get to games 7 and 8, I think Alabama will have a really strong offensive line. But yeah, far and away, last year's offensive line, the best line Alabama's had in the Nick Saban era.
Well, we do have a lot of questions in here for you, Kevin, in reference to Coach Saban. So we're going to fire off a couple that we can find, and because they're firing in.
Awesome.
But Craig says, hashtag ask Kevin, any feeling on how much Coach Saban's going to coach? I think we all know it's realistically that at some point he's going to retire. If you told LSU fans today here, Kevin, if it's tomorrow, they would probably cheer for joy. But look, he's got a plan. Nick Saban always has a plan. But it doesn't look like he wants to stop anytime soon. What if you just had to give a puncher's shot at what you might think that this team might look like in the future with Saban? What do you think?
I think Coach Saban will coach until Miss Terry tells him not to coach anymore. And let's be honest, she doesn't want him around the house anytime soon. And his personality is, he said it many times and it's true. Excuse me. He's not a sit home, watch TV kind of a guy. He has to be doing things. If you were to honestly ask me, I think Coach Saban has at max 5 years. I think 4 years is a realistic time frame, which is one of the reasons that I don't think that we're going to get the Manning kid at quarterback. Number one, because his father hates Alabama with a burning passion because we cost him the 1969 Heisman Trophy. And the reality is, I'm just being honest, I don't think Nick Saban would be there for all 3 years of his college career. If you were to ask me who I think is going to be the next Alabama coach after, there was some talk about an unofficial handing of the baton to Steve Sarkisian. That was very serious. Coach Saban setting him up for that. Obviously, that's not going to happen because he goes to Austin, and ironically, we go there the next 2 years. There's a lot of names. Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien's been very impressive since he's been at Tuscaloosa. I joke on Bill King's show, hey, we've killed Pete Golding off 1,000 times. It may be Pete Golding, but I'm going to throw a name out there that's going to blow everybody away. And he left on really bad terms, but he's re-energized himself and rejuvenated himself in talking to power people at Alabama. I've been told that Lane Kiffin is no longer on the blacklist, and that's a name. But here's another thing. I think the jokester in Gainesville is up against it. They have a really tough schedule this year. I'm kind of worried that Lane Kiffin could be the head coach at the University of Florida next year. But I'm just throwing that out there. Oh, I know. Can you imagine? I'm just throwing that out there. Lane Kiffin's a name that, and let's be honest, would Lane leave Oxford for Tuscaloosa? Yeah, probably. I would.
Well, and Kevin, two things. I want to get on Bill O'Brien. I got to defend Pete Golding, but we'll get to that. Lane Kiffin's interesting. Okay. If he can get the talent at Florida and go to Florida, watch out. Okay. Oh, yeah. That scares the bejesus out of me. Does that not scare you?
Oh, it scares me. The only good thing is Kirby Smart would jump off a bridge. Kirby would be totally exposed at that point, and that's the guy I can't stand. Kirby, if Lane Kiffin gets the Florida job, Kirby better hope that the Falcons job becomes open immediately.
Okay, I gotta be honest. That's freaking funny. Kevin Hagan is our guest. We'll let you know where you can get all of his stuff. We have one here from Vic. He says, hashtag ask Kevin, are you worried about the receiver position with the lack of experience there? That's a good question because, look, you're replacing the Heisman Trophy winner. Judy's not there. Ruggs is not there. You have a lot of things that you got to replace. Is that another position, Kevin, that you might be a little bit worried about?
That's a phenomenal question. Oh, that's a phenomenal question. I'm sorry, my friend. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
You're good.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this. Losing Devontae Smith hurt so much. Not only was he a Louisiana kid, not only was he the Heisman Trophy winner, but he was such a class individual, was such an integral leader of our team. I'm going to miss – I can't tell you for the last 4 years what a safety blanket number 6 was for Alabama. Yeah, no question. Our three main receivers are going to be John Mechie, Slade Bolden, a young man from West Monroe. Bill O'Brien loves him. We kept hearing with Steve Sarkisian that we were going to integrate Slade more into the offense. It never happened. Well, it's going to happen with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien loves Slade Bolden. And Javon Baker, very talented true freshman last year. Javon finally decided, hey, you know what? It might help to learn the playbook, and it might help put my bad attitude aside. So he has been, along with Trayshawn Holden, they've been reclamation projects of Bill O'Brien. Also, Jaleel Billingsley, our tight end. He's not a tight end. We call him a tight end. Okay, it's like calling an aardvark an elephant, but I mean we call him a tight end. He's going to get a lot. But then Bill O'Brien's identified Cameron Latu. Get this. We had a 6'5" tight end walking around on the sidelines who was never targeted for a pass in his first 2 years at Alabama. Well, Bill O'Brien says, "Hey, can you catch the ball?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, well, he's been lighting it up all spring." I don't know if he offended Steve Sarkisian or what, but he's been a big find. But yeah, that's a great question because we've brought in 4 elite freshman wide receivers: A.J. Hall, Ja'Cory Brooks, JoJo Earl, and Christian Early. But they're doing freshman things. They'll make one great play, then they'll have a drop, and then they'll misrun routes. So I mean, as you know, Blake, and it makes me really mad, Blake, when I hear this. Well, you can just throw freshman wide receivers out there. That's a real easy. Right. No, yeah, maybe you can at Division III. Okay, but we're talking about the SEC. That is not true. So yeah. Behind the ones that I mentioned are freshmen. They're very talented, but Blake, they're freshmen and they're going to have freshman moments.
Kevin, I heard this from an offensive line tight end coach when I was in college. He said that offensive coordinators do one or two things about tight ends. Either number one, they use them, or number two, they never use them. It just depends on how things go. Kevin Hagan is our guest. We'll get to a couple more of you guys' questions in just a second. Bill O'Brien is interesting. A lot of people kind of shake their heads and scratch their heads when Bill O'Brien was named the offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. Nick usually doesn't make hires, but this one's kind of a question mark. What did he see in Bill O'Brien? Look, Bill O'Brien, for all it's worth, is a good offensive play caller, regardless of what people say. The Texans organization, I think, is a little Rudy Poo, how I would say it, and we can see what's going on there. Bill O'Brien's interesting. Kevin, tell us what's been going on this spring, how those guys been implemented, and how do they like Coach O'Brien?
Let me first say, I think Bill O'Brien, I think the job he did at Penn State after the entire mess and the whole scandal of Joe Paterno, I think it was the second most difficult job in the history of college football, only succeeded by the restarting of the Marshall program after the horrific plane crash. I think those are the two hardest jobs. It's stability. What Bill O'Brien brings is stability and experience, and the players have absolutely fallen in love with him. And this is not a knock on Steve Sarkisian, okay? But Bill O'Brien Steve Sarkisian Steve was really, really intelligent, and he kind of threw everything at you at the whole time. I mean, he expected you take the book home and read the whole book over the weekend. Okay, well, Bill O'Brien realizes that you got a girlfriend and a couple of games you like to play. Okay, so Bill is implementing the offense in more stages. And he said multiple times, he goes, look, we don't have to know the whole offense by the end of the 15 spring practices. We have to know the offense when we get to Miami. So it's more of an incremental learning. And at the same time, he's doing a great job of Sark sometimes was viewed by players as being keying in on one or two players, being player specific. Bill O'Brien's doing a much better job of showing people how you are a part of the entire picture. So you're getting the low level and the 10,000 foot view. So the fact that he's found some reclamation projects, he's reaching out to Javon Bakers and the Trayshawn Holdens. So yeah, I was excited about the hire, but you wonder how it's going to go because I'd heard from some of my Penn State friends that, he's pretty gruff and he's not, he's not a lot of warm fuzzy there or whatever. Well, Sarkisian was very quiet. I wouldn't call him warm fuzzy. So the returns on Bill O'Brien have far exceeded, Blake, what my best expectations were.
I don't want to hear anything about him not being warm and fuzzy because Nick Saban's your head coach. Okay. I mean,
that's what I tell people. I said, I laugh when they go, well, he's going to be mean. I was like, well, obviously you haven't had the honor of being at an Alabama practice because let me tell you what, our coach is not, Mickey Mouse. So.
Hey, I'll be honest with you, Kevin. I was 13 years old going into 2003 at an LSU football camp, and Andrew Whitworth was our host for the week. Okay. And so we're at this camp, and Andrew Whitworth had a great career, and Nick was there. And Nick said he said something happened in offensive lineman. He goes, boy, you're softer than Andrew Whitworth. If I had 5 Andrew Whitworths, I'd never win a game. But later we would find out that he was trying to get under Whitworth's skin because he knew the potential that he had. That's just Nick. And I look, I'm not going to question him there. One question we got to get into is
sure.
Pete Golding.
Absolutely.
A lot of people at LSU thought that Pete Golding had a chance because obviously just of the Louisiana ties, he might come back to Louisiana because LSU was looking for a defensive coordinator. A lot of people, for whatever reason, Kevin, Alabama fans included, butchered this man. You had 16.5 points you averaged. And I know that this is in a day and age where 40 points is 40 points. We never want to see it. But I have this theory, Kevin, and it's called the triple D, a sports triple D. Dominating defenses are dead. Do you agree? And
I do.
Look, very quickly, I don't want to really interrupt you. If I told you right now that your defense would give up 16.5 points a game, would you take that right here, right now?
Take it? Are you kidding? Where can I sign the contract right now, Blake? Can I get a multi-year? I mentioned earlier, I'm a defensive guy. I'm old school. Okay, in my perfect world, Alabama would still be running the wishbone, the triple option, running it down your throat and taking away your manhood. I'm not just speaking to LSU. I'm talking to everybody, and we'd have a rock solid defense. I hate the fact that the rules have been changed to favor the offenses. You're right, Blake. I mean, the days of holding people to single digits and 200 yards total offense, that's never going to happen again. Until the rules change, that is not. And I have Alabama fans message all the time. When are we going to go back to the 92 defense? Well, when we get in the time portal and go back to 1992. College football, we don't play. Here's the reality, Blake. We don't play college football like we played it in 1992.
No.
We don't play it like we did in 2011 or 2016 when we had great defenses.
Well, and Kevin, I mean, there's 9-6 is just not going to happen. You're not going to have Les Miles running the stupid, absolutely ignorant option play when you can run the RPO.
So, you're not going to have 9-6 at the end of the first quarter.
No, you're not going to have 9-6 in the midway through the first quarter. I mean, we saw that in 19. It's just not going to happen. Kevin, look, and for everybody who wants to trash on it, 16.5 points, especially Bama fans, like, man, we had Bo Pelini. Okay, like, get over it, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I would sign me up immediately. And if I can get a couple-year option on it, I'll take it. You name the price. I'd take that.
Jeff, too, who I know that you know well, and our good friend, says, #Ask Kevin, how will Alabama get touches to 7 different 4- and 5-star running backs next season? A very big running back class. Look, they do have a lot of talent there. How do they feed all those guys?
Well, that's a great question, Jeff. I think it's going to be – and Nick Saban favors running back by committee. He likes to have 2 main backs so that you can kind of split the wear and tear on people. And I think this year Brian Robinson from Tuscaloosa came back for the COVID year, and I think it's a great decision for the young man. He's talented. He's just always had superstars in front of him, and he's got a chance to shine. The next great Alabama running back is going to be Jace McClellan. He's just a stud. He has deceptive speed. It doesn't look like he's fast, but he glides. And what I love about him, Blake, is he's the best Alabama back since Sean Alexander at setting up and utilizing his blockers. Hey, there's a novel idea. You know those receivers downfield blocking for you, which Saban makes you. You can actually utilize him. He is great at you. He is the best I've seen since Sean, seriously, at utilizing his blockers. But then you got Roydale Williams and then Khalil Robinson, who came back this year. They're smaller backs, so I think you're going to see them in the backfield, but I think particularly Khalil Robinson. So we're going to have K-Rob and B B-Rob. That'll be fun to keep up with this year. I think he's going to be split out a lot. I look for Bill O'Brien to put him out in space and utilize him as kind of a slot type of a wide receiver. Kyle Edwards, a redshirt freshman out of Louisiana, a big back. He's looked pretty good this spring. And then we have a young man named Kamar Wheaton coming in from the Dallas Metroplex area, who's not only the big, strong body, but he's got tremendous speed. And I know he played injured this year, and I've had Bama people in the Metroplex area, people that I trust their opinion, telling me he's the best running back to come out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in 10 years. And if so, that's crazy. But every time I sit back and go into a season, Blake, and I think, oh, wow, we're just loaded with running backs. 5 games into the season, you got 3 backs injured. So I've just learned, I live by the motto, you can never have enough star running backs.
Kevin, I got to ask you this question because I hate to use this language, but it's been bugging the absolute shit out of me. How does Alabama get around signing over the 25 limit scholarships? Are some of these guys blue shirts, gray shirts, whatever shirts they got? Like, there's something that they're doing that other people aren't, because last year you had 26. This year you have 28. The year before you have 27. Are some of these guys taking blue shirts? And is that something that Nick has taken advantage of and other colleges just really haven't?
Yeah, this will shock you. Nick Saban is taking advantage of every opportunity to better his team. Absolutely. And here's the scary thing. Okay, we could still be adding 2 more people. Like I said, Henry To'oto, and then the young man out of California, the defensive lineman whose name's escaping me at the moment, the 5-star, could be coming in June as an enrollee. We utilize the gray shirt, blue shirt quite a bit. Caden Clark is a great example. He's a tight end who set out last year. Granted, he had a knee injury his senior year of high school, but we asked him to gray shirt, and I don't mean to sound like, because I don't want to come on here and be all arrogant and Bama's all great or whatever, but the reality is the success that we've been able to have with Nick Saban has allowed us the opportunity to ask some pretty good football players to gray shirt, and he's been able to make the pitch to them that, hey, I'm willing to gray shirt to be a part of the Nick Saban program to try to get me to the next level that other schools don't have. Now, I will say this, because we signed everybody and their brother last year, and I call it Nick Saban math. I don't know how he does it, but by August the numbers always work out. This Blake might be the smallest in numbers wise, not counting the 2007 season when Saban took over and ran all the drug addicts out of Tuscaloosa. This is going to probably be our smallest class under Nick Saban. We may only sign 22, 23 people this year simply because, rules are rules. This is going to be a very small. So that's why when Alabama is going to be slow taking commitments, and anybody we have a commitment from right now, what you can be assured of, it's somebody we really, really want. This is a tight class for us.
He's Kevin Hagan, and that's why he's the best. Kevin, tell everybody where they can follow you and get all your stuff. Man, you've been fantastic. Even through a power outage, you stuck with us and you held the fort down. We appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can follow you, my friend.
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at LEXKY Todd. I'm on the Bill King Show on Friday mornings at 8. And then I have the honor of following you, my friend, on Saturday morning on the Southern Gentleman Sports Show, back to back. I call it the West Power Hour. Jeff, too, you and I. It's been an honor to be on with you, my friend. And I just want to let you all know I have a tremendous amount of respect for LSU. There is not a more electric environment in college football than Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. If that doesn't make your hair stand up, call the coroner. You are dead. Just tremendous respect. I know it's a bit of rivalry between the two of us, but in all seriousness, I have a tremendous amount of respect for LSU football. You guys will be back. I have no doubt this year LSU football will be back. You have too much talent, too much pride in that uniform and that program. I think you're going to be a very dangerous football team this year.
They have us all 3 in a row there on Saturdays, Kevin, because Georgia Dog just has to get it out of the way, because we go on there for a whole hour talking about how Rudy Poo, Kirby Smart is, and he can't take it more than an hour. So
I can't stand it. But you and I tease him. I tell him all the time, because you're a Yankee fan like me, I tell him I said it's Ruth Garrett. So, Ruth and Garrett back to back. It's a good thing they don't have to pay us, right, Blake, because they couldn't afford to pay us back to back, right?
Break the bank. I'm going to leave that one alone. I don't want recruiting violations to hit AYS, my friend. All right, brother. It was great having you on. We'll have you back on again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody.
That is Kevin Hagan. Dude, just so great. And listen, I saw a couple people saying this. We're doing the tour around the SEC. And if you want to know Alabama, you want to beat Alabama, and you want to be there on their tier, you got to learn from them, and none better than Kevin Hagan. And look, he didn't mince words when it came to Alabama. I mean, he told you just the absolute truth of what he believes, and he didn't sugarcoat it. You know, I respect a man that will come on here and tell you just the God's honest truth. That's why we bring on guys like Kevin Hagan. I missed a couple questions in here. I'll have to ask him next time. Vic says I should have asked Kevin what are his thoughts on LSU's offense and defensive coordinator hires. We'll get Kevin back on and we'll do that. Tyler says hashtag ask Blake. Got to the show late, but I sure know your ears had to perk up when Coach O was talking about Anthony Bradford and Cardell Thomas going in at fullback on the goal line packages. Tyler, it made me absolutely want to wet my pants. I was so excited. Look, I'm telling you, Anthony Bradford is a guy on the offensive line that everybody needs to watch out for. If they put the fridge back there and they don't give my man the football, I'm going to freak out. If they're on the 1 yard line and you don't give the big man the ball, I'm going to freak out. Hey, you're beating the dog shit out of McNeese State. Give the man the rock and let him score a touchdown, damn it. Let him score. So, yeah, Tyler. Yeah, I am. Ryan says, great interview. Yeah, dude, listen, he didn't mince words when it comes to Alabama, and you got to respect that. And look, he held the fort down when the power went on and off very quickly. Let the big dog eat, as Gatorman 45 says. Yep, Perry Mason. What's happening, Perry? David says, Blake, that was great guest. Need to have him back again. We're certainly going to have him back again. And guys, we'll continue to go around the SEC where we did Auburn, we did Alabama. We're going to probably do Arkansas sometime next week. Then we'll do Florida, and we'll go on and so forth. We'll continue to go around the SEC because look, if you want to know, if you want to beat them, you got to know what you're going up against. And I think it's good that we know. Blake Schilling says, I hate to love this guy. Dude, I love Kevin Hagan. I love him. So he's been a good friend of mine, and he's going to be a good friend of the show. Peggy says, what? Bama can sign more this class. Thought they were already at 26 or 27. Yeah, well, Peggy, they do this gray shirt, blue shirt rule. Nobody else in the country is using it, and that's how Alabama gets around this recruiting process of signing 26, 27, 28 guys is because some of these guys, they'll do the blue shirt. You know, you might have a lower star guy who was going to be there for 3, 4, 5 years, and he'll take a gray shirt so he can be on Alabama's team, which I quite honestly think LSU should be doing for some Louisiana kids. Hey, you don't want that kid going from Louisiana going to La Tech? You think that he's a project? Gray shirt him. I really wish someone would ask Ed that question. Like, ask him that damn question, man. Nothing's going to hurt you asking Ed Orgeron, hey, coach, have you ever thought about bringing on kids and gray shirting them? All right, let's do this. All right, guys, we got to get over to some more of our good sponsors. Guys, you got to go see out my good friend, Mr. Richie Roche, over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220. That's 225-937-7220. If you want the best lawn in your neighborhood, you've got to give Richie Roche a call. Again, that's 225-937-7220. And tell him Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And guys, don't forget about our good friends over at Sunday Scaries, the best CBD oil on the market. Don't sleep well, joint pain, neck pain. Go over to Sunday Scaries, get some of their jerky, get some of their oils, get some of their gummies. It'll let you go to sleep easier. Go see Sunday Scaries at sundayscaries.com. Let's see here. Kenny says Booger McFarland lined up at running back against Florida in 1995. Give him the rock. Chili Vic says, Blake, you need to have on Billy Lucci. I know you mentioned that last time. Yeah, we'll try. We'll see who we're going to have on Texas A&M. Some of those guys act a little fugazi. I'm not saying Billy does. I'm just saying they sometimes act a little fugazi. Darren says, hashtag ask Blake, any word on Landon Jackson? Landon Jackson, I know he's been hurt before his senior year. Yeah, I think he's still a little nicked up. They're just trying to bring him in easily. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he plays Saturday at all. A couple more, we'll get out of here. Bella Boo says, wow, I was like, what the hell when I saw the hat, but damn glad I stayed tuned. Guys, funny too. Yeah, and guys, again, and if you're just joining the show, if you haven't heard us say it, we're going to take the tour around the SEC. You see guys that cover Florida, you're going to see guys that cover Arkansas. It's just guess. And look, I get it. I do it when I go on someone else's show. I'm decked out in LSU gear. Their fans don't like it. Their fans rip my ass apart. Stephen Miller says, how do you feel about quote unquote sweetness? Walter Payton not getting a TD in the 85 Bears Super Bowl game win, but the fridge did. I love it, Stephen. Give the man the rock. If you smell what the rock is cooking. A couple more. We're getting out of here. David says, hashtag Ask Blake, does LSU keep money on Sunday? A lot of people are going to say they hope not. I want to see this kid start more than once. I know a lot of people want Will Helmers on Sunday. We'll see. I mean, it depends on what happens in the series. Look, Blake Money got rocked around. It was his first time starting. You know who else got rocked around his first start was in the SEC. It was a guy by the name of Aaron Nola. And I'm not saying anything about that, but, you know, the kid, it goes from a middle reliever to a starter on Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of people want Helmers. I get it. Personally, I'm kind of torn about it, so we'll see. All right, guys, we're going to get on out of here. We will be back tomorrow as Zach Pearson will be joining us in his regular slot on Wednesdays. But until then, guys, we'll see you soon. Have a good night.